Yes, doing interview on the spot here because we happen to be in Toulouse on the day after a mass killing in Paris of quite a few, 12 journalists for a magazine called Charlie Hebdo. Therefore, up there it says Toulouse, we are Charlie, and I'm here with Ben. We just happen to be here for the night, and there's a lot of people who just simultaneously came out today. Candles are out there for free speech, for the decrying of the murders, of gun laws, and many other things. And Ben, what's the feeling here tonight? What's going on? You've been walking the streets all day together. What's happening here in Toulouse?
Well, I think people are just shocked. They're sad. They're worried for the future. You know, this could have really, despite, obviously, the main thing is that 12 guys have lost their lives and their families have lost their fathers, their brothers, their sons, etc. But I think it could have really drawn out long consequences in France, politically, you know. So people are worried about that. People are just shocked that this could happen, you know, that there are people kind of crazed enough and that attached to their beliefs and that full of anger and bitterness that they could actually just go in there and in cold blood just murder these guys who were actually literally journalists and cartoonists. And there was one economist, I think, all of whom worked for the magazine Charlie Hebdo, which was a satirical magazine. I mean, a few years ago they did print some cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad that kind of, I think that maybe with the Prophet Muhammad naked or something like that, but they kind of took the piss out of Muhammad. But they also took the piss out of Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism. It was their job. That's what they did. And it was, you know, they were really proponents of free speech. But obviously these guys really took exception to that to the extent that they would go and do that. So I think mainly, yeah, the feeling is just sadness, shock, and worry for the future.
Right. I mean, could we turn that worry? You think it could be a positive? I mean, out of all things we can get negative and positive, could there be anything positive to come out of this? Could we hold on to our free speech? I mean, obviously the people who did this work on fear. They want to, you know, instill fear. Do you think the people here tonight are trying to look at this into a way to move on? And you know, this gathering of people here, this, you know, in Toulouse, France's 5th largest city, looks like a mixed crowd of Muslims, and there's a Turkish thing going on behind us for the women who got murdered in Turkey. Can this also bring society together in a positive way somehow? Can we look at it? What do you think on that? You know, I know the killing of 12 people sounds horrific in the short term, and obviously it is for the families. But what about any positive spin? Bringing society together. You know, bringing to the fore free speech and you know, many other things.
Well, I mean, judging by the posters and the cartoons and the messages that people have left, and I think it's happening all over France. There's massive demonstrations and gatherings in Paris and Lyon and other cities. And judging by the feeling that people are putting out, they're really determined not to give in to that fear and not to go into that fearful place. And to hold on to free speech and, you know, to kind of hold on to their idea of democracy. So if anything positive can come out of it, I think it would be that, you know, that it would in a way send people in the opposite direction. Instead of running for cover and going to the fearful place, they'd be like, actually, you know, despite this, we're going to hold together and we're going to continue this tradition of free speech. And also, I was having a conversation earlier today with a guy that I know who was born into a Muslim family, Mohammed. He was here. I know him from Montblanc. And he was suggesting that in a way the guys who did this were really clever, that they would use it to cause division within French society. But in a way it could go in the opposite direction, that what they did was so barbaric that more or less all of France would come together in condemnation of what happened. So, you know, including, obviously, you know, most of the 5 or 6 million Muslims that live in France. So there would be a very small percentage of them who maybe would in some way approve of what happened. So whether these guys, you know, what their thinking was, you know, to cause fear and cause division, but if anything positive can come out of this, it would be that the opposite would happen.
Yes. Well, yes, I will agree with Ben on that. I mean, we could always go to a bad place on these horrific times. Maybe the terrorists or the people who, the people who tried to create terror from this act will, turn the people of France are obviously rallying around and trying to create a positive thing about it. We are Charlie. As it says up there, Toulouse is Charlie. Charlie Hebdo is the name of the magazine. And I just leave you with the photo here, the shot here in Toulouse at this somber evening when people are finding hard to see the positive right now, but they're all coming together to show their solidarity with the families and those 12 people who died. Joe Telemon Brum, Toulouse, France. Good night.